Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like you were fading just a little, not because you've changed, but because what you're wearing no longer reflects the woman you've become? In today's video, Healthwise for Seniors will walk you through 8 magical colors, shades that not only help women over 60 look more youthful, radiant, and captivating, but also act like emotional notes that bring you back to yourself. And if there's ever been a moment when you put on a blouse and suddenly smiled at the woman in the mirror, speech balloon, we want to hear about it. Drop a comment below. Backhand index pointing right, I feel most beautiful when I wear the color. Because maybe, just maybe, your story will inspire another woman to find her glow again. Chapter 1. Champagne gentle, but never faded. There are colors that don't scream, don't demand your attention, and don't need to be seen to be felt. But they exist and gently awaken something very deep within a woman's soul. Champagne is one of them. When we're young, we crave boldness. We pick colors that make us stand out, colors that spark compliments and turn heads. But at a certain point in life, we no longer need to shine for others. We simply want to wear something that reminds us of the light we already carry within. Champagne is that light, a warm glow, a blend of white and soft gold, like a late autumn morning filtering through the curtains. It caresses skin that no longer seeks to be flawless, softens the lines and sunspots, and brings back the tenderness time never truly took away. We just forgot how to see it. Women in their 60s don't need to try to look youthful. What we need is to show up, fully, wisely, and wholly. A champagne blouse won't make you dazzle like fireworks, but it will make someone want to look again, the way you pause to admire a quiet sunrise after the rain. Makeup artist Lisa Eldridge once said, "Champagne is the softest light a mature woman can wear." And perhaps no one proved that more gracefully than Diane Keaton, when she arrived front row at Paris Fashion Week 2023, wearing a cream white ensemble, silk blouse, tailored jacket, and an unwavering gaze. She wasn't trying to be anyone else. She was simply herself, and that was more than beautiful. Champagne is not for the hurried. It's for the woman who knows how to walk slowly, smile softly, and choose the perfect light. For the one who understands that gentleness, when it comes from a soul well lived, is the most powerful beauty of all. Chapter 2. Sage green, the color of stillness and wisdom. There are colors that don't belong in the spotlight. They don't sparkle, they don't shout, and they never beg to be remembered. But just like a woman over 60, they don't need to be remembered, only to be seen by those wise enough to understand. Sage green, that soft, silvery green, is one of those colors. It doesn't make you stand out in a crowd, but it makes people pause. They glance, then glance again, not because you look younger, but because you carry something rare, a sense of calm and depth. Sage green is the color of understanding, the color of a woman who has walked through storms and now chooses to stay with peace. According to Harper's Bazaar, sage green is a healing shade because it sits between soothing green and grounded gray. A pairing the brain connects with safety and trust. It's no coincidence that Helen Mirren, an icon of mature elegance, once stunned the entire Paris Fashion Week. When she appeared in a soft sage green gown by Elie Saab, she didn't need to wave, she didn't need to rush. She simply stood there, upright, serene, and the room grew quiet. No one called her youthful. That word would be too small. They simply whispered, "She's beautiful." And that is the highest compliment one can offer a fully grown woman. For women whose skin carries golden undertones or soft grays after menopause, sage green doesn't overpower, it embraces. It's gentler than emerald, yet far richer than pastel. It softens the eyes, brightens the cheeks, and brings a quiet grace to the entire face, a kind of softness that doesn't fade but deepens. Geo gently suggests to Mua and to every woman living her second spring, try sage green on a sunny day. Under that light, you won't need to pose or speak, just stand still, breathe, and let others see the kind of woman that time can't erase. Only deepen. Chapter 3. Coral, the Ageless Joy. There are colors that don't belong to an age. They belong to a smile. Coral is one of those colors. It's not the pink of girlhood, nor is it the bold orange of blazing summers. Coral lives in between, like a gentle melody tapping on your heart, just when you thought it had stopped singing. Women over 60 often shy away from bright colors. They worry it looks like trying too hard, too loud, too young. But coral doesn't ask you to try to be younger. It simply invites you to return to the vibrant part of yourself you might have forgotten. When Oprah Winfrey stepped out in a flowing coral silk dress at her own Super Soul Sunday event, people didn't gasp because she looked young. They paused because she looked radiant right at her age, a radiant power but softened, a warmth, not a glare. And as Oprah once said, every woman needs a color that makes her feel kissed by sunlight. Coral is mine. According to InStyle and Opera Daily, coral, especially soft peachy pink tones, is a happy hue designed for mature skin. It brightens the area around the eyes, gives the cheeks a natural blush, and makes lips look fuller, no filler needed. Geo likes to call coral a smile you can wear, because when you slip on a satin coral blouse, tie your hair gently back, and wear a soft lipstick in the same tone, you feel different, not different from others. Different from the quiet, tired, over-responsible version of yourself you've been carrying for years. Coral doesn't need you to be young again. Coral just asks that you smile, even if only once today. Chapter 4. Lavender, the color of gentle memories. Not every shade of purple feels heavy. Some purples don't echo sorrow, they hum a softness that has matured. Soft enough to no longer hurt, but still real enough to make your heart pause. That's lavender. It's the kind of color that feels like a silent song, a lingering scent on a silk scarf, or the memory of someone once whispering, "You're still beautiful," on an otherwise ordinary afternoon. And when a woman over 60 wraps herself in lavender, the world hushes, not because she demands attention, but because her presence reminds us some beauty can't be rushed. Lavender belongs to the woman who's known heartbreak, who's been rebellious, who sat in silence, and who's loved deeply without regret. It doesn't hide the past, it embraces it, as softly as fingers resting on a diary page. Famed stylist Stacey London once said in an interview with Real Simple, "Lavender is a permission. It's the color that says, I'm done proving, I'm now expressing." And no one embodied that more than Mae Musk, the 76-year-old model and mother of Elon Musk, who walked into New York Fashion Week 2024, wearing a full lavender matte silk suit, nude heels, and a cool violet lipstick. The room softened. No one spoke of anti-aging or aging gracefully. They simply stood up and applauded, because before them was a woman, so at peace that lavender had become her strength. Lavender pairs beautifully with fair skin, silver, or smoky gray hair. It doesn't compete with your features. It lifts them like a knowing touch. When matched with muted violet pink or smoky nude lipstick, silver bangles, or amethyst earrings, you're not just wearing a color. You're carrying a whole atmosphere. Gentle, profound, and real, Geo calls lavender the color of what remains after the tears have dried. And for that reason, it's not for a girl in her 20s. It's for the woman who dares to love herself, even when no one is clapping. Who knows at last? Only when I am truly at peace. I am truly beautiful. Chapter 5, Sky Blue, Unlimited, Unbound. There are colors that make you feel lighter, not because they're fragile, but because they open a space where you can simply be yourself. Sky blue, the color of the open sky, is one of those colors. At 60, after living through so many closed doors, so many unspoken expectations, the sky is no longer just something you look up to. It becomes a place you rise into. Sky blue doesn't ask you to be anything. It only whispers, "Remember when you used to believe anything was possible. Remember when clouds weren't worries, but stories. When you sat watching the sky, believing the world was wide open. Now, when you wear this shade, you're not just wearing color, you're wearing your faith in yourself." Vogue once dedicated an entire feature titled Sky Blue, the most liberating shade for women over 60. In it, legendary designer Carolina Herrera described the hue as a wearable freedom. No one embodied that spirit more than Jane Fonda when she appeared at Cannes 2023. In a head-to-toe sky blue ensemble, jumpsuit, heels, even her sunglasses, she stood there, hand on heart, with a half-hidden smile that seemed to say, "I'm not reliving youth, I'm living my grown years my way." Sky blue flatters every skin tone. It doesn't compete, it illuminates. Paired with soft white, warm beige, or pale gray, it makes a woman look open, graceful, and never defined by age. Gio believes, sometimes you don't need to do anything to feel free. Just wear the color of the sky and let your soul rise. Chapter 6, Mocha, the color of gentle acceptance. One quiet morning, you wake up without rushing to put on makeup. You brew a soft, sweet cup of coffee, sit by the window, and look out into the misty sky. No one's calling your name, no messages waiting, no urgent plans, and yet, you don't feel lonely. Because maybe for the first time, you feel at peace simply being with yourself. Mocha, the warm milk coffee hue, feels exactly like that moment. It's not as bold as burgundy, not as refreshing as sky blue. Mocha doesn't ask to be admired, it simply exists, like a quiet nod that says, "I've walked through enough, and now I don't need to run anymore." In the InStyle magazine feature, The Power of Warm Neutrals, style expert Tan France said, "Mocha isn't a color you wear to impress. It's what you wear when you've finally stopped needing to." At Milan Fashion Week, 75-year-old model Linda Rodden stepped onto the runway in a mocha trench coat, paired with a beige silk scarf and clear-framed glasses. No bold makeup, just the soft strength of a life fully lived. People didn't see a stylish elderly lady. They saw a woman who had lived deeply and was still living fully in every moment. Mocha embraces all skin tones, especially those over 60 with sunspots or softened glow. Because mocha doesn't cover, it doesn't hide, it walks beside you. Paired with bronze, blush gold, beige, or wooden accessories, mocha feels real, grounded, and beautiful in a way that lingers, even when no one's touching it. And Gio thinks, maybe when a woman can sit quietly with herself and not feel alone, that's when fashion stops being something we wear and becomes something we live inside. Mocha, more than any other color, is the color of that gentle acceptance. Chapter 7, Rosewood, the color of depth. Not every woman dares to wear red after 60. They worry it's too bold, too loud, too young. But that's only because they've never met rosewood. Rosewood isn't the red that demands attention. It doesn't shout, it resonates. It's the kind of red that feels like earth, like aged wood, like the desk where you once wrote love letters you never sent. It's a quiet dusk, not a blazing sunset, an echo, not a sound. On the cover of Harper's Bazaar, Helen Mirren stood draped in a rosewood silk gown, her look finished with ruby jewelry and a matching deep red lipstick. She didn't try to look young. She wore rosewood like she wore her years, with truth and elegance. Max Mara and Eli Saab featured this tone prominently in their 2025 collections for women 50 and over. A red infused with hints of brown and dusky purple. Rosewood doesn't overpower mature skin. It brings out its stories. It softens sharp lines, deepens features, and adds a kind of inner light to the woman who wears it. Pair it with garnet stones, antique gold earrings, a silk scarf tied at the neck, or a classic leather-banded watch, and rosewood transforms. It becomes a quiet statement. Don't see me for the color I wear. Feel me for the woman I've become. Because some shades don't need the spotlight. They are the spotlight, subtle, rich, and unforgettable. Chapter 8, Soft White, as pure as morning breath. There are mornings when everything feels soft. The light hasn't sharpened, the colors haven't rushed in, and the world hasn't yet demanded anything from you. You sit up, you open the window, and the mist touches your face like time itself, gently reaching out to greet you. That is what soft white feels like, not the harsh white of snow, not the glaring white of neon lights, but a white that breathes, a white that pauses. Soft white doesn't scream for attention, it doesn't try to shine. It simply is. Quiet, elegant, and whole. It's the shade of a woman who no longer needs to prove anything, because her presence alone stills the room. On the cover of Vanity Fair, Glenn Close at 76 wore a soft white silk blouse, a classic Cartier timepiece on her wrist, nude lipstick, and silver white hair parted with ease. There were no loud details, only grace. A delicate pearl necklace, teardrop silver earrings, and a gaze that says, "I'm here and I'm enough." In the Chanel Spring 2025 Haute Couture show, older models walked out in flowing soft white ensembles, lace middies, sheer shawls, mesh hats in shades of cream. And no one talked about age. No one noticed wrinkles. They saw peace. Soft white doesn't make you look younger. It doesn't make you look bold. It brings you closer to yourself. And in today's noisy world, that's a rare kind of purity. Sometimes women don't need more clothes. They just need to rediscover a color that makes their heart flutter the moment they slip it on. The 8 colors we explored today aren't meant to make you stand out to the world. They're meant to help you feel real to yourself. If you saw yourself in one of these hues, gentle champagne, warm mocha, or deep rosewood, we'd love to hear from you. Backhand index pointing, write what color is your soul wearing today. And if you'd like to walk alongside Gio and Mua each week as we share soulful stories about fashion, wellness, and true beauty after 60, don't forget to subscribe to Healthwise for Seniors and hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment that makes you feel truly beautiful. See you in the next video, where we don't just dress beautifully, we live beautifully, right at the age we are.